The Cincinnati Reds season stands on the edge of the knife, and there's no more evidence to that than the fact that they called up Chase Burns for Tuesday's game.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. I've been podcasting about this team now for 7 seasons, and I'm glad that you're alongside me here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And on today's podcast, going to tell you a little bit later on in the show, part 1 of my perfect trade deadline plan. That's all coming up later on in the show. In a few minutes, I want to look at the fight that the Reds had on Sunday. I get it. They lost that series, but I'm going to tell you why Sunday was important in just a few minutes. I want to start, though, with the big news of the weekend, and that is Chase Burns making his Major League debut coming up here on Tuesday. It was announced Saturday, I believe it was Saturday night. That's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by FanDuel. New users can get $150 in bonus bets with your first winning $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com. All right, the Reds announced on, it was reported initially by C. Trent Rosecrans on Saturday night that the Reds will call up Chase Burns on Tuesday for his Major League debut. He's going to get to face the New York Yankees for his Major League debut. Congrats, kid. You're making it to the bigs, and you're going to face Aaron Judge. But what I am interested in is what this means for the team. We'll break down Chase Burns and what you can expect from him on tomorrow's podcast, so make sure you join me tomorrow as well. But what this means for the team is very interesting, because we have talked about a lot of different things. The Reds reaching their hopes of making it to the playoffs and all this other stuff, and how Matt McLain plays into that, and how Christian Encarnacion-Strand plays into that, how Elly De La Cruz is the leader of that, all these different things. But that is all predicated. That is all assuming that the starting pitching remains the team's strength. Right now, it is a big question mark, because you have Andrew Abbott. You saw what he did yesterday, and we'll really dive into that here in just a few minutes. But you saw what he's been doing all season long. Hunter Greene, whenever he gets back, we know what he's capable of. We've seen Nick Lodolo pitch well. Hopefully he can bounce back tonight and get back to that, we're talking about Ace 1B status. Isn't quite there right now, but he's been solid so far this season. Nick Martinez, Brady Singer. Nick Martinez hasn't had a great start in the last couple of starts. Brady Singer's been fine. But ultimately, as those guys go, so do the Reds. And the fact that we are in this spot now, that Wade Miley hitting the IL again is a worry, that's what concerns me. I don't necessarily have too many concerns about Chase Burns, the player. Chase Burns is crazy talented. 4-pitch mix. His fastball and his slider are his bread and butter. He is going to be a lot of fun to watch. But the Reds are betting a lot on him to figure it out real fast. It's not as if they can stomach him coming up and having a debut like Chase Petty had. If he has a debut like Chase Petty had, which I believe he's a better pitcher than Chase Petty is, but I'm saying, if things don't go so well on Tuesday night, there's not a lot of options here. We talked about this before. We talked about it with Wade Miley. We talked about it with Nick Lodolo, that whoever pitches reasonably well in the starting rotation has a lot of job security, because there's really no one in AAA that's pushing them. I saw a report the other day about Adam Plutko and how he's pitching with Louisville, and it's very admirable to see how he's kind of repaired some things, considering he's not had the best career statistics-wise. So you wonder a little bit if he could help the Reds out, but I'm not looking for him to be a guy every 5th day for the rest of the season. Chase Burns is a guy every 5th day for the rest of his career. But the Reds need him to be that very quickly. There's not a huge learning curve here for him. And so I feel like this is an odd situation where there's a lot of pomp and circumstance surrounding the number 2 pick for the Cincinnati Reds in 2024, making his Major League debut here in June. And we have talked about this a lot throughout the offseason and leading up to this point in the regular season, that it says a lot about the Reds if he debuts early. Not necessarily him, but a lot about the Reds pitching situation. Rhett Lauder, don't know when he's going to be healthy, if he's going to be healthy the rest of the year. Hunter Greene, probably around the All-Star break. We're going to be lucky if it's before, likely after. You got Brandon Williamson and Julian Aguiar on the shelf all year because of Tommy John. Hopefully they will be back next season and in the mix. Chase Petty, I feel like they keep putting him in tough spots, right? Like Saturday in the 11th inning, Saturday afternoon, not night. They would have wished it was in the night. It would have been cooler. But coming into the 11th inning of a bullpen game where everybody else was spent just felt like a disservice to Chase Petty, but that's what the Reds had to do. If they didn't do that, they would have, well, they couldn't have pitched a position player because that's against the rules. But anyway, the whole point is they are so thin at their most important position. And it's not just because it is an important position on any team. It's what the Reds are built on. This is the strength of the Reds is starting pitching. And if they lose that, then this team is not very good. As much as I would love to say they can stomach the loss of this or that, they can't stomach the loss of starting pitching. They are predicated on the ability of a guy to go out there and give them at least 5 innings and keep them in the ball game for those 5 innings. And so hopefully they can get ahead early and they can maintain that lead well enough late to get the win. That is how this team is built. If you take that away, all bets are off. I mean, we've seen a little bit of resilience here recently, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a few, but for the most part, this team has had a lot of problems making late game comebacks in 2025, which means, and this really isn't hardened analysis or anything like that, which means you score early and you hope that your starting pitching holds on to it early and your bullpen can do just enough to get you through the rest of the game. But you don't want your bullpen to have to do what it did on Sunday or Saturday, where everybody pitches a bunch of innings. You want that starting pitcher that can be in there and give you no less than 5, hopefully 7, like what Andrew Abbott did on Sunday. I wonder a little bit. And I think that Chase Burns individually is up to the task. It's just the team right now, and probably something that they are looking at heading into this trade deadline, is not in a position where they can stomach him not succeeding. He can't fail, basically. It's not the best situation to say, hey, kid, welcome to the majors. Don't mess up, right? Like, there's better messaging. I'm sure Derek Johnson has said a lot of better things than that. But that's where we are with Chase Burns. And that's where his challenge is. His challenge is not, come in here and figure things out as you can. His challenge is not be perfect. His challenge is don't be bad. And that is something that I feel like the Reds have had a hard time with over the years. So I'm going to be interested here because, look, they've had a lot of electric debuts over the last few seasons, and I know a lot of people have been really highlighting that. I've read articles from Chelly Goldsmith and from Gordon Whitmire and Mark Sheldon talking about, man, look at this, another awesome debut from a really highly touted prospect. The Reds have seen this a lot here recently. And I do love the idea and the messaging that a lot of the Reds players were saying, that it's like, man, calling up Chase Burns now shows us how committed the Reds are to winning. I would love to give them that credit. But in my mind, they called him up because they have no other option. So the plan B, honestly, I don't even know. It's unfair to say that calling up Chase Burns this early was plan A. It's more like plan 9 from outer space. I don't know. Like, it's way down the list. I think. I get it. He's talented. And I know there's been a lot of people that have said, man, it really doesn't look like the minors are doing him any favors. But there was a bit of comfortability to his development and how he could fight through some certain things. That's gone. The training wheels, they aren't off. They've been disintegrated. So now, how does he respond? Because the Reds need it to be awesome. The good news is the rest of the team is showing plenty of fight, and that was very evident on Sunday. Watching sports is a hungry man's game, and that's why you need Wonderful Pistachios so that you can win that game. Wonderful Pistachios has amazing flavors, especially in their no shells variety, like the smoky barbecue, like the jalapeno lime, like the chili roasted. So many great ones. There's also like salt roasted. There's salt and vinegar, which I really want to try. I haven't got my hands on that one yet, but they are all awesome, and they're awesome for you. Each serving includes 11% of your daily value of protein. You can replace the chips. You can replace the pretzels with Wonderful Pistachios. Check out wonderfulpistachios.com and get snacking and get cracking today. Check out your local grocery, your local store. They got Wonderful Pistachios all over the place. They're going to help you with that snack craving every single day. That's wonderfulpistachios.com. Always appreciate you making Locked On Reds part of your everyday routine. If you are not an everydayer, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting app. We're on all of them out there. Check us out today. And if you're watching here on YouTube, maybe you're a first timer, this is not my usual setup. I'm on the road. I'm actually down south in South Carolina doing a couple of podcasts at the beginning of the week. Steve's going to take over here in a couple of days on Wednesday. He's going to recap Chase Burns' debut on Wednesday morning. I'm getting you set for Chase Burns' debut today, tomorrow. We are excited to see him. It's just, the challenge is a little bit daunting to me as to what it means for the Reds as a whole. But I know this, the Reds showed plenty of fight on Sunday, and there's so many reasons why this team still has lots of opportunity to make its ultimate goal and get to the postseason. Matt McLain, can I say it? Am I allowed to say it? I think he's back. First inning home run, that was great to see. He's hitting second now. I really think that we have seen a lot of good stuff from him. He's above the Mendoza line. Everybody's been like, is he going to get above the Mendoza line? He's creeping up toward the 400 mark in slugging. Want to see him creep even further past that mark, but he's getting there. He's getting above 300 on the on-base percentage. Things are starting to normalize for his season statistics, and that's because he's been on such a hot streak here recently. But he is a microcosm of this team. They will not give up. As much as we Reds fans have been beaten down for the last 30 years with teams that it felt like by June they were out of it, this team won't be. This team, I don't know, if the Reds don't make the playoffs, I believe it's going to be like the last week of the season that we find that out, right? For sure. Like, I don't believe this team is going to let us quit them because they aren't going to quit. They lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis, and there's definitely the angle, and lots of people have taken it, that stinks. And I don't disagree. I'm not trying to sit here and say that winning 1 out of 3 against a division rival that you need to beat is a good thing. But I think the fact that they were able to come out on Sunday and they didn't have their best stuff. Nobody went crazy, right? This wasn't a game where you saw a lot of guys just hit the ball crazy hard and they won by 1 billion. They won 4-1. Very solid, reasonable game. That's the kind of win that shows me that this team doesn't have to have this crazy bad pitching performance from the other team to get a win to avoid a sweep, which, by the way, hey, Reds is still the only team in Major League Baseball that haven't been swept. Give them the ring right now. But when it comes to this Reds side, I mean, Andrew Abbott has... There's going to be some sort of accolade we've got to come up with him because it's very hard to argue that he's a better pitcher than Hunter Greene. But this stretch right now where Hunter Greene is dealing with this crazy shadow phantom groin, it's not phantom groin. He does have a groin injury, but this groin injury that doesn't seem to really be figurable by the team doctors or any other doctors because they're all just like, well, it looks like the same groin injury he had earlier that he came back from in 2 weeks, and then he re-aggravates it, but it's not that bad. It's very strange looking. I just want him to be healthy. But until he is healthy, the Reds are in quite a pickle. And Andrew Abbott is making sure that that pickle is a bread and butter pickle. A very tasty pickle, right? Like something that we can all stomach and we can all enjoy. Don't get me wrong, I love pickles. I know there's people out there that don't love pickles, though, so I get it. But where the Reds are right now, Andrew Abbott has to be commended for keeping this all together. Because when he pitches, they don't lose. knock on wood, right? Knock on wood a lot. But he has pitched so well this season. He is so efficient. And I think that for me, and you know, my buddy Ben Kaspick over at Locked On Giants may disagree with me a little bit because it's a little bit premature and he's not on this level yet, but he is reminding me. I'm not saying he is this guy, but Andrew Abbott is reminding me of Logan Webb. Logan Webb is a perennial Cy Young contender for the Giants every single year. Andrew Abbott can get to that level. He isn't there yet, but he can get to that level with how efficient he is with his pitches. I mean, he had retired 18 straight Cardinals on Sunday. He was looking absolutely dominant. And it's not because he's up there painting the corners. It's not because he has the most electric fastball in the world. It's just because he knows how to pitch. He's just got a mind for this. He knows how to miss barrels because you don't always miss bats, but you better miss the barrels. As we saw this past Thursday, Nick Martinez got his brains beat in. He was hitting all the barrels. And we've seen some of those pitching performances from the Reds here recently from some other guys. So you want to see that guy that if he's not getting the strikeouts, he's going to get the outs anyway. And that's how Andrew Abbott feels this entire season. Not just this most recent start, but this entire season. He has added this efficiency that he didn't have in years past. And I think that that is why he's got a really good argument for like season MVP. If the Reds get where they're going, this long stretch of games without Hunter Greene, it's because of how Andrew Abbott has pitched every fifth day out. Now, Elly De La Cruz is probably going to be this team's MVP because he is awesome and amazing, and even when he's throwing up on the field, he still gets a triple and a homer in that game, including the go-ahead home run. As much as the bullpen blew it, Elly De La Cruz put them in a position to win. And that's all you can ask for out of a hitter. He can't pitch. As much as that'd be a lot of fun to see. Wouldn't that be a lot of fun to see? Like Elly would probably be throwing 100 miles an hour. I don't even think it's a probably. I think he would. Don't know where it would be going, but it would be coming plateward at some point. But I'd say that this Reds team has so much fight in it that I don't think if the Reds miss the playoffs, it's going to be something that we find out in August. It's going to be like the last week of the season. And I still think that they make it. Like, I get it. Their fortunes right now seem as though it's a bubble, and you could really do something very easily to pop that bubble. But for whatever reason, other teams have tried, and this bubble just ain't popped yet. I really think that if they go out and they make a couple of moves at the deadline, there's definitely some moves to be made. But if they go out and they make a couple of moves, they could set this team up to be a easy wild card team. If not, catch the Cubs. You know, yet right now they're not playing good against the division, so that's kind of hard to envision. But there are a few moves that the Reds could make that I believe could put them in that spot. The first move I'll give to you coming up next. Baseball's taken center stage finally, and FanDuel is the best place to take advantage of all the baseball lines that are going on. Whether you're talking about run lines, money lines, over-unders, prop bets, they've got it all. And I'm looking at tonight's game against the Reds and the Yankees, and the Reds are underdogs at home, plus 106 on the money line. A little bit interested in that, not sure. It all depends on Nick Lodolo, which is actually why I'm looking at the over-under. You've got Winans on the mound for the Yankees, and the over-under in this game is set at 10.5. Yeah, they think there's going to be a lot of runs scored in this game. I think Nick Lodolo is going to clean it up. I think we're going to see a good start from him, and the Reds pitching staff as a whole is going to be much better than it has been these last couple of days. I think I'm taking the under on 10.5 runs for the Reds and Yankees tonight at Great American Ballpark. That's over on FanDuel. New users, place a $5 bet, and if it wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel. They are America's #1 sportsbook. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We are on all of them. Seriously, all of them. Go check us out there today. And when you're done, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night. They watch every game, every night, so that you don't have to. All right, we've been talking about this a lot, right? Trade deadline season. What the Reds don't really want to give up, what the Reds might have to give up, what the Reds need, how they can go about getting it, all this other stuff. So let's get a little bit more focused. I have my first move that I would make. Look, for a minute, take my hat off real quick. Put this hat on. I'm the Reds general manager. And I'm going to make the first move of the trade deadline season for this Reds team to make them better. I am calling up the Miami Marlins, and I'm going to get Dane Myers. Now, you're probably like, Dane Myers, let me see. I think his rookie card is going for, it's not going to be very high. Dane Myers is not the kind of guy that's on the superstar spectrum. Dane Myers is not the kind of guy that everybody is buying a ticket to go see, but Dane Myers is the kind of guy that would solidify the Reds outfield and put them in a chance to in a good position to make the playoffs. The Reds have two deficiencies. Outfield defense is a deficiency. Hitting against lefties, it's a horrible deficiency at this point. I don't really know how else to describe it. We've tried multiple ways to come up with explanations for it, but they're horrible against left-handed pitching. Dane Myers is not horrible against left-handed pitching. This season, in 29 games played against lefties, he has a .389 batting average, .441 on-base percentage, and a .611 slugging percentage. In 29 games against lefties, Dane Myers. Go get him yesterday. And oh, by the way, he plays all three defensive positions in the outfield. And his best is center field. Now, I'm not saying that the Reds need a center fielder. They've got a pretty good one in TJ Friedl, but you could give TJ Friedl an off day. You could see if TJ Friedl wants to play right field for a day. You could put Dane Myers in right field, have TJ Friedl in center field, and then whoever's in left field could just cover the corner because both guys are really good defensively. Dane Myers has 5 defensive runs saved so far this season. He's positive and outs above average, and as far as his career goes, he's having the best year of his career. Now, he is a late bloomer. He's 29 years old. We're not talking about a guy who's 25 years old, just starting his career. We're also not talking about a guy that's in the twilight of his career. He's right in the middle. He's kind of breaking out a little bit, and he has multiple years of team control. He's not a free agent until 2030. All of this makes it seem as though he's a slam dunk, but nobody's really talking about him. I don't necessarily know if that means he's completely unavailable, but look, the Marlins are in seller territory right here. And if I were the Marlins, I'd be looking at Dane Myers and saying, if I can get some decent prospects for him, and I don't know necessarily what it would cost. I have an idea of what the Reds should offer for Dane Myers, but Dane Myers is the kind of guy that would bolster this outfield. He could play every day, but mostly he would kill left-handed pitching. The Reds don't have that right now. And look, Connor Joe is okay against right-handed pitching. Austin Hayes, whenever he gets back from injury, will be good against left-handed pitching. And TJ Friedl is kind of falling off a little bit against left-handed pitching. So you could conceivably carry 6 outfielders. I know it's kind of weird to say. But look, Santiago Espinal hasn't been doing anything this season. He's not even hitting he's not even hitting left-handers very well. I think that the Reds could definitely make a few moves here. If it's Connor Joe, fine. Get rid of Connor Joe, add Dane Myers. Dane Myers would boost the profile of the Reds lineup against left-handed pitching so much. And you couple that with the fact that Matt McLain is having a renaissance. He's breaking out a little bit this season. Hopefully that continues. Then this Reds lineup against lefties is going to get so much better. In fact, one more point to the whole left-handed pitching thing. When you look at the entire league and you break it down as to the best teams against left-handed pitchers, looking at the major leagues, we've got Houston, top of their division. Yankees, top of their division. Tigers, top of their division. Boston, they're in a wild card spot. Dodgers, top of their division. Cubs, top of their division. Toronto, in a wild card spot. Philadelphia, in a wild card spot. I don't think they're in the top of their division. I didn't look at the NL East right here. You've got Arizona, who's fighting for a wild card spot. Those are 9 teams, the top 9 teams. If you are a top team against left-handed pitching, you are in a really good spot because so many teams are not good against left-handed pitching. Like the Reds are not alone. In fact, they're not even the worst. But we know how bad they are against left-handed pitching. So get better at it and make your outfield better by getting Dane Myers. Defensively, offensively, all of the above. That is my first target. And I know there's going to be some people that are just like, man, really doesn't feel like you're aiming very high here because he's not a superstar. But on the other side of this, I don't think that Dane Myers is going to cost like Chase Petty and Cam Collier. There's some guys that we were talking about, like Luis Robert, who's having a rough year, by the way. As much as I want to say this, that, and the other about him playing for the White Sox, it's now 2 years in a row that he's having rough years. Go figure. Maybe there's something to that. But he would cost a lot. And there's guys like that. Like when you talk about these superstar names, they would cost a lot. But there are players, as we have learned through Moneyball and other different books and things like this, there are players that you can build your team with that don't cost as much as the big names cost. And you can go get those guys. Dane Myers is on the Marlins. The Marlins are sellers, period. There is no question about that. So go get him. That's my first move. Plenty more to come as we move through this trade deadline season. That's just part one of the Reds' perfect trade deadline plan. Let me know your thoughts on what the Reds should do. You're probably going to say, Jeff, they should absolutely aim higher. But I don't know how that would work because you're probably talking about a player that's on a team that isn't necessarily a seller. I know that the Marlins are sellers. I know that Dane Myers is having a breakout season. I think that this is something that the Reds could go get and make their team better. Let's do it. All right. Thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. I'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll recap Game 1 of the Yankees series, and I'll give you a full breakdown on what to expect from Chase Burns and his Major League debut on the next Locked On Reds podcast. If you're part of our everyday squad, really appreciate our everydayers out there. If you're not, make sure you hit subscribe right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting app because we're going to be with you all throughout the season. You can also check Tim Daniel out at the end of every single game on the Reds postcast right here on the Locked On Reds YouTube page live, and then shortly after in your audio feed. That's all because we are Locked On Reds every single day.